This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Monday, December 9th, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. On Saturday, Oregon defeated Penn State to win its first Big Ten football championship in front of more than 65,000 fans at Lucas Oil Stadium in downtown Indianapolis. Indy is set to host the conference's big game through 2028, but Indianapolis received a 4-year extension earlier this summer to host the championship game. With the addition of Oregon, along with other West Coast universities in UCLA, USC, and Washington, Talty said the competition to stay the host city was extremely stiff.
We were lucky enough to get all 4 years. That takes us all the way through 2028. And we didn't think we thought we would be lucky if we got 2 years of those 4. So we were super ecstatic that we were able to retain the game. The only place it's ever been.
And competition for the Big Ten Conference extends beyond football. Indianapolis will host the conference men's basketball championships in 2025 and 2027, as well as the women's championships in 2025 and 2026. However, Las Vegas will host the women's tournament in 2027 and the men's tournament in 2028. Talty said Las Vegas has been very vocal about going after events typically held in Indianapolis. Military supplier Raytheon will utilize its facility in Fort Wayne, among others, to complete a $590 million production contract from the U.S. Navy. That contract calls for the production of the company's next-generation jammer mid-band system. The electronic attack system consists of 2 pods attached to a fighter jet that disperse radio waves to disrupt air defense systems and ground-based communications. Raytheon said the system allows naval crews to operate effectively at extended ranges and attack multiple targets simultaneously. The contract will run through 2028, and work for it will be performed at Raytheon's facilities in McKinney, Texas, Forest, Mississippi, and El Segundo, California, in addition to Fort Wayne. The announcement of the contract comes just 2 months after Raytheon landed a $192 million Navy contract to develop an upgrade to that same system. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
Included in the Indiana Secretary of State's new budget requests are hundreds of thousands of extra dollars for IT-related needs and expansions. But reporting from the Capitol Chronicle shows recent vendor contracts awarded by the Secretary of State's office shows millions have already quietly been spent on those services without any competitive bidding process to find the most cost-effective providers for the projects. The contracts were provided to the Indiana Capitol Chronicle upon request and are not visible in the state's transparency portal, where agreements entered into by state agencies are typically housed and made public. Agreements with one Indianapolis-based IT company, Clean Slate Technology Group, amounted to more than $2 million for services provided between March of 2023 and July of 2024. Online application support and development services, end quote, are also being contracted out to MTX Group, a Texas-based technology consulting firm. Since July 1st, the state agency has paid MTX more than $1.7 million for contractual services. None of the contract work was obtained via requests for proposals, meaning both companies were awarded contracts without having to go through the competitive bid process that is normally required by state law. Around the time the contracts were initially signed, top brass at both Clean Slate Technology and MTX made donations totaling tens of thousands of dollars to Secretary of State Diego Morales' re-election campaign. Lindsay Eaton, an office spokesperson, defended the contracts in a written statement to the Capitol Chronicle. Eaton said, quote, "Due to time considerations and critical business applications where choice of a lowest cost bidder would be questionable, the agency opted to pursue vendors with a strong track record and commercially competitive proposals in lieu of public bidding." This is not the first time Morales has faced scrutiny for his office's spending. Last year, the Capitol Chronicle reported that Morales had given a spot bonus to nearly every employee in his office, including a family member of his former campaign manager, for a total more than $308,000. Morales was additionally criticized in the months after he took office when it was revealed that he created a new agency position with a 6-figure salary for his brother-in-law. And Nippon Steel Corporation clarified its spending plans at U.S. mills owned by United States Steel Corporation as part of a last-ditch effort to win over workers and politicians for its bid to buy the Pittsburgh-based steelmaker. After meeting with United Steelworkers leaders, the Japanese firm released a letter to U.S. Steel staff on Monday. In it, the Japanese firm said it made new commitments with regards to where and when previously announced $1.4 billion would be spent. The letter also makes a previously announced additional $1.3 billion in capital expenditures legally binding. That money had been promised after an arbitration meeting, so had not yet been a binding proposal. As part of an investment first announced in August, Nippon Steel said it would pump $300 million into U.S. Steel Gary Works' operation in Northwest Indiana, specifically to revamp the blast furnace number 14, extending the facility's operational life by 20 years. Nippon Steel is seeking to allay concerns over job security at plants that use traditional blast furnaces from iron ore as part of its pending $14 billion takeover of U.S. Steel. Both President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump opposed the deal, which was announced nearly a year ago and remains before federal regulators. Music industry executive Andy Wilson is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast, hosted by Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.